Hey guys, welcome back. So we're going to start now rebuilding the oil pump. This big pile of O-rings you see over here is the gasket kit that came with the engine. It's actually a genuine Honda OEM one, so that's good. But none of them ever come labeled, of course, all the O-rings, so they just throw them in a pile and let you figure it out. So we're going to figure out which ones we need. So these are the ones that came out of the oil pump, so we need to dig through this stack of gaskets over here to find the ones that need to go back into it. First thing, I'll start by sorting out the ones I know I'm definitely not going to need, like these metal exhaust gaskets and this really giant one. And there's also ones, I believe it's the valve cover gasket one. I'll just keep going through these till I weed out the ones that we know we're not going to need, then we can look at them a little closer. Okay, so right off the bat, I see one here we're definitely going to need. It's this one right here. So there's that one. These are a little bit fatter of a gasket, so this one right here, gonna need two of those. Look for this one next. It's a little bit bigger of one. Then we need two of these little ones here. Okay, so the rest of these I'll just put them in the bag for later. I haven't found that one yet, but none of these really match it. Now that we got most of our gaskets, we can start rebuilding this thing. So we'll start with this bottom plate first, and the first thing I'll do is just put a little bit of this assembly lube in here. Just to help priming, make sure it's okay on startup kind of thing. The first thing that goes in is this little washer spacer here. It sits right down on the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing with this gear here. Just put a little bit on that shaft. And that just goes in from the bottom there. Just sort of like that. Then this pin goes in. Just like that. Next we have this piece, the outer part of the gear pump. So I'll put a little assembly lube there too to help with priming. And then finally this goes in. And there we are. Give a little test turn there. Looks like it's working great. Okay. So now we got to join the two sections back together. This one goes right here, which is going to go on the shaft here in a second. But first I got to put this one in here around the ring of it. A little bit tight. There we go. And that's simply going to slide right into here, lining up two of those holes. Oh, also, almost forgot, we've got the check valve here. As this goes right there in the hole, and has this big spring that sits on it and sits in the housing up here. Kind of right like that. So then the bolts just simply go in, or screws. Okay, so we got the bottom half of the pump done now. Still feels like it turns great. So now we'll continue on with this upper half. Okay. So it's going to be a lot like the lower part. Has this gear ring that's going to go in here, and just put a little assembly lube on that. I'm not sure why these Hondas have two. I guess this is probably the high pressure part or something like that. Or it goes to a different piece. I'm really not honestly sure. There we are. Okay, so the next piece in here is one of these little pieces with the O-ring right there. That goes up to that piece there. Just gotta snug these down. There's no torque values for these, so just be reasonable. Do it in a crisscross pattern so it pulls down on those O-rings evenly. Alright, so it's good to go. Up next we need to put these oil connectors back in. They just sit right in there like that. It's kind of like this. Okay, so we got all the new gaskets in there. Last thing I'm going to do is just put the cinder unit back in. I'm mostly just putting the thread locker on there to seal this, not really to lock it in place, but so this just simply slips down in here, and then the gear engages inside, so you might have to turn the crankshaft just a little bit to get it to work. Apparently that's a different direction than it used to be. There we go. Okay, so now we're ready to install the oil pump back into the engine. So if you look down in here, you can see this little gear right here. So that's going to mesh with this gear right here. And we just got to set it down in there so it all meshes together. So I got it in there, and I just do a little tapping. Get all those lined up there. So it has 3 bolts hold it down. It has this one big one at the bottom, right here, and some smaller ones. Okay, so this one I'll do to 18 foot-pounds, kind of like I did the case bolts, because it's the same type of bolt. And then to smaller ones I'll do the same, about 100 inch-pounds I've been doing on the other ones. Okay, so the oil pump's in, so that should turn freely with the engine now. Okay, so the next thing that needs to go in is the shifter shaft seal. While I'm on this side of the engine, it's the shaft that goes, the shifter shaft goes through. Okay, so I'll set that right down in that hole there. And then I'll get a socket that's about the right size and type it in. Or tap it in. There we go. Okay, so up next we need to install this piece here, which just goes right over here. It's the first part of the shifter mechanism with these springs going over these forks into this bolt hole right here. Then I'll just screw right in right here. There we go. Okay. So the last piece to go in all over here for the shifting mechanism is this shifter arm here. It's just going to go all the way through the seal you saw me put on the other side, and it's going to clip on right there. Okay, it's just going to slide right in there. The big spring goes on that kind of stake thing there, and then the arm itself sits back and grabs the little pins on the other piece right there. Feels to be shifting pretty nice there, back in neutral. Okay, so that's the last piece there. Besides the, we gotta put the clutch and the kickstarter in. I'll try to get it propped up here so you can see it a little better. So the kickstarter could be a little bit of a pain to get in here. It goes right back in this slot back in here. It has a pretty stiff spring though, so that's the part that makes it a little tricky. This spring basically needs to go all the way around one time. Missed it. I'll put a little bit of this on the end of it there. So then I just got to take this spring, push it up on this perch here, and it's good to go. And there we are. Okay, so the last thing to go on here is going to be the clutch. Let me see if I can find that real quick and get that stuck on. Okay, so here we have the clutch. This one works a little bit differently. Then some of the push top clutches, it's a pull clutch. It actually pulls from the outer cover. For first step, we'll go ahead and take the pressure plate off of it here. Okay. So this clutch has just recently been rebuilt, so it's not in bad shape, other than being stuck. That's no big deal. Okay, so there's all our pieces, plus a few more in here. Okay, so we got our standard washer, which goes right there. Then this piece is going to slip on next. Okay, so next piece that goes on is this piece, which is the back of the pressure plate, which gets pulled forward and then it all pushes that way when you push it. So I'm going to start putting the plates back in here. I guess I'm going to prime apart first. Alright, so these clutches, they also get built a little bit differently. So since the way of the nature of this clutch, it actually gets built opposite of what a normal one would. So we have the narrow plate here, you can see. And we'll start that right there from the back, which is the front in this case. And then we'll have a steel one of these. I'm going to try to keep these as closely in line as possible. You can see I'm trying to keep these in line as much as possible. It's going to make it a lot easier when we go to put it inside this. There we are. See, then this piece goes in from the back here and locks it all together. Then, this is when we go ahead and try to put it in here. So of course, remember we have that washer in there. And then we'll just slide all, well, let me go ahead and do this to some extent here. Alright, so I barely have those on there, so I can still move all these. So we'll go ahead and start lining this up here. There they are going in. There we are. So we got it in there. So now we'll go back in and take these back off again. This clip has to go on to the inside down in here. So I'll just use our regular pliers here in spreading mode. That always works. There it is. Okay, so the last thing on the clutch, this just goes back on here with the, well, we gotta put the springs on first. And that piece will go right in there, and then the cover will push on it from the outside. Okay, so the last thing we have to do in here is tighten up this, or torque down the big nut there. If I can figure out what size it is, we'll get a torque on it. Okay, so the primary nut down here that you probably can't see is going to be torqued to 30 foot-pounds. So I'll go ahead and set the wrench to that. It's a 17 millimeter here, or maybe I'll go with the towel here. Okay, now that's torqued down. So now the only thing left over here is to put the clutch cover on to keep all this from popping out.